What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Modern Warfare 2. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the last of the semi-auto marksman rifles in the game. This is the TAQ-M. And starting it off as always, let's have a look at our damage profile. And with this gun, just like with all the other semi-auto marksman rifles, it's going to be a 2 to 3 shot kill to the body. Within the maximum damage range, you can shoot them anywhere in the body and you'll get a 2-shot kill, whereas after that, you do have to make sure you're starting to mix in torso or upper torso shots. Additionally, with headshots, we do get a 1-shot kill potential to the head within the first and second damage ranges, which is great. After that, let's have a look at our rate of fire, and unfortunately this is the slowest out of the semi-auto marksman rifles at 231 rounds per minute, and what this means is our time to kill potential to the body is also not very great. With a 2-shot kill to the body, it's going to kill in 260 milliseconds, which is not a very competitive time to kill at all for closer range engagements. And if you end up taking 3 shots to kill, this will increase all the way up to 520 milliseconds, which is extremely slow for this game. And as a result, when we're talking about raw power, this gun really doesn't excel with body shots at all. I mean, it's not like you can't get kills to the body with it, you're just going to be statistically outclassed by almost everything else in the game. But then let's have a look at our bullet velocity, which is fairly standard for marksman rifles and great at 680 meters per second. And now let's move into the ranges. And this is one area where the TAQ-M definitely excels. It has the best range profile out of any of the semi-auto marksman rifles. Our guaranteed 2-shot kill anywhere in the body will extend out to 53 meters, which is excellent. And our 1-shot kill potential to the head extends all the way out to 63.5 meters. That is a crazy good 1-shot kill potential with a semi-auto. And that's where this gun really shines in my eyes. Beyond that though, you really have to start mixing in torso or upper torso shots if you want to maintain a 2-shot kill potential. After that, let's have a look at our hipfire, and unfortunately we don't have a very good hipfire spread with the TAQ-M, and when you also factor in the fire rate, hipfiring is generally going to be a terrible option for you unless you're practically touching the enemy player. As for our idle sway, just like with the other semi-auto marksman rifles, there is quite a bit of sway while aiming down sight, unless you hold your breath, in which case you do get basically 0 sway for a few seconds before you lose it, and that's something you may want to do if you're trying to line up a headshot at longer ranges. But then after that, let's have a look at our recoil, and as we can see here, even when spamming at the maximum fire rate, we're not seeing much recoil at all. That is another upside to this gun. It doesn't have like a massive jump between the first and second shot fired or anything. There's a little bit of vertical and a little bit of horizontal recoil, but nothing too crazy. This is a very accurate gun. And now let's move on to our handling stats. Our aim down sight time is 280 milliseconds, which is pretty standard for the semi-auto marksman rifles in the game, and not bad at all. Our sprint to fire time is 210 milliseconds, which is the same as all of the assault rifles in the game. And then finally, our reload add time is actually quite good with this gun at 1.35 seconds. Generally speaking, when it comes to handling for a gun like this, I'd say it's great in this area. And now let's finally move into mobility. And when it comes to mobility for this gun, it turns out across the board, it's basically bang on average for a marksman rifle. And that means it's actually faster than the other semi-auto marksman rifles, the EBR and the LMS, because both of those are noticeably below average in every category. So again, this is another area outside of raw power or killing potential where the TAQ-M does beat out the other semi-autos. And this is where we can now move on to some unique attachments for the gun, and we're going to start this off with barrels and how they impact our ranges. And as you can see here, for the first barrel, the 15.5-inch Theta barrel, this one will reduce our ranges by 14%, and that is a very noticeable reduction, but I'd still consider this to have very solid range values even after that for the 6v6 maps in this game. Whereas with the second barrel, the LR 1-in-7 20.5-inch barrel, this one increases our ranges by 24%, which is huge considering this has great base ranges to start with. And I would say this is completely unnecessary for 6v6 game modes. Generally speaking, you'll never notice a difference there just because you're not going to get practical line of sights that long anyway. But for something like Ground War or maybe DMZ, this may be a solid option for you if you really want to extend that range and challenge people at extremely long ranges while maintaining a great damage profile. After that though, let's have a look at how these barrels impact our recoil, and while there aren't any stated recoil changes with either of these barrels, and I would say that seems to hold true with the first barrel, it doesn't seem to increase our recoil or decrease our recoil much, if at all. However, with the second barrel, for some reason, it looks like it pretty clearly changes our recoil at least a little bit. Not by a massive degree, but there definitely seems to be a first shot jump now with that second barrel, and that doesn't really exist to a large degree without that barrel equipped. And there also just appears to be a lot more spread in general while firing with that barrel. So I don't know exactly why that's happening. Perhaps there's some hidden stat in there that's affecting this, but it does pretty clearly seem to be impacting our recoil negatively. And then finally, for the barrel attachments, I did want to look at our aim down sight times. And with the first barrel, that Theta barrel, it will reduce our aim down sight time down to 263 milliseconds, which is a fairly small but still nice improvement. Whereas with the 1 in 7 barrel, this one will increase our aim down sight time all the way up to 346 milliseconds, which is a pretty big jump. But remember, this also gives us an amazing boost to our ranges. And then finally, for our attachment stats, I did want to look at the magazines, and as you can see here, we can increase our magazine capacity to 15 rounds or 20 rounds, but both of these will come with a noticeable aim down sight penalty. And honestly, especially with a really slow fire rate of this gun and the fast default reload time, I don't see any reason to be using these extended magazines. And with that, it's now time to move into some excellent attachment combinations that I've got for you guys with the TAQ-M. And the first one I'm going to share is my more aggressive build, although you can't be super hyper aggressive with this in my opinion. You can at least get around the map a little bit more effectively with a build like this. And with this, we're using that Theta barrel, the Phase 3 grip primarily for the idle sway reduction, the OLEV laser, the Slimline Pro optic, because I'm not a big fan of the iron sights of this, and then finally the TV ballast stock. This one helps a bit with our aim down sight stray speed as well as our aim down sight time. And with this, our aim down sight speed is noticeably improved at 263 milliseconds, which is nice to see. Our sprint out time is also improved a little bit, and our aim down sight stray speed is improved a little bit. And with all of this combined, we're also getting better recoil than the base recoil of this gun. This is very accurate, and you should be able to pick people off at range just fine, while also moving around the map at a decent pace. Now, if you do want to focus more on slowing down a little bit and being extra precise and extra accurate with the TAQ-M, this is the second build that I've got for you guys. Now with this, I've got the Tempest GH50 muzzle. In my testing, this one just seemed to be the most suited to this particular gun and its style of recoil. Once again, we're combining that with the Phase 3 grip, the OLEV laser, the VLK4X optic, and the XRK response grip, which is the one that helps with flinch resistance, which is great when you're going for a precision build. Now with this one, unfortunately, our aim down sight speed is slowed down to 350 milliseconds, but that's still at least manageable if you're playing a bit slower. Our sprint out time is also improved very slightly here. And with all of this combined, you can see we have an incredibly accurate gun. There is almost no recoil at all with this. And that's excellent, especially if you're trying to hit those headshots, which is where this gun really excels. Now, if I were taking this gun into something like Ground War or DMZ, I would likely drop that rear grip in exchange for the 1 in 7 twist barrel, just to get that massive range boost. But like I said, when it comes to 6v6, that's just complete overkill, so I'm not running it on this particular build. And with that, that's finally going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the TAQ-M marksman rifle. As for my thoughts on this gun, I consider it to be lower tier. I don't really like the TAQ-M a whole lot. I just think that fire rate is so slow and punishing if you're going for body shots, and I feel like this gun really relies on headshots. And don't get me wrong, I love going for headshots on this gun. It's really rewarding to get a headshot with it, but the EBR-14 is also incredible at getting headshots, and it's way better at getting body shots as well, so it just has so much more versatility, and I just don't feel like all the little handling and mobility benefits that the TAQ-M has over the EBR justifies its use over that gun. I would much rather use the EBR-14 in almost any scenario. And that's why I feel like the TAQ-M is just kind of in a weird spot in this game. I'm not saying it's completely unusable or anything, I just do think it's a lower tier gun when you put it side by side with the other guns in the game. Now, of course, that is just my opinion on the TAQ-M, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this gun in the comments down below. And also, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.